Welcome, welcome! It's my dog with the TexasSpaceNavy bringing you another Star Citizen video. And today we are going to take a look at what just came out. No, not the roadmap. We'll do that in another video. The Q&A for the Anvil Liberator. So this just came out a few minutes ago, actually. So it'll probably be hours by the time it gets up on YouTube. But I wanted to bring it to you. A lot of people have had a lot of questions about the Liberator that I want to answer, that you asked me actually in my video on the Liberator. So we're going to get into it, and hopefully these will answer a great many of your guys' questions. It answered some of mine. So first question, what sort of capabilities will this ship have for refueling, repairing, rearming the ships and vehicles it carries? I believe there were fuel tanks shown in the concept art. So this is probably the number one question I got on my YouTube video for the Liberator, and it's probably the top one they got too. The Liberator will only support basic levels of refueling, repairing, and rearming, which will be done manually by the players on board using supplies in the cargo bay. It does not have a dedicated facility or separate stores for that stuff. So I was partially right. It can support those ships, but and it's going to be part of the SCU, the 400 SCU that's on board, but it's not like an automated system. You manually have to do it. So that was the part that I did not get right. Are the ships on the deck shielded by the Liberator's size 3 shields with the new SDF shield tech? They are not explicitly protected. However, the shield projects multiple meters from the ship's hull, so most ships would likely be partially covered, but not entirely. The same applies to the Kraken or any other ship where vehicles are stored on the exterior. So that's something to keep in mind with these ships, that there are going to be some vulnerabilities with what you store on top of it. Same thing with the Kraken. Those ships you may have to keep powered on so that the shields stay on while you refuel and rearm. At least that's my take on it. Otherwise, you could lose them in a firefight. What's the largest ship that can be parked in each of the garages, the upper landing pads, and the front landing pad? The garages and front landing pad can store ground vehicles up to and including the Tumbril Nova and the Anvil Ballista, and what we refer internally as double extra small ships, which includes the Argo MPUV and the Origin 85X. So we're kind of getting a better idea of what they are internally using for ship metrics. And the upper landing pads support extra small ships, which include most single-seat combat ships like the Aegis Saber, Anvil Hornet, and Arrow, etc., and other single-player ships such as the Misk Prospector. So extra small ships are your runabouts, your, parasite craft, that sort of thing. And then your extra small ships are going to be fighters and single-seat or single-player ships. Can a Liberator transport one big ship on both its upper decks, providing that the latter can touch down with all of its landing gear? So officially, this won't be supported, as large ships won't be able to spawn there. But what players do after initially spawning the ship is up to them. So while they can surely Tetris larger ships onto the landing pads, it will likely not be supported as an official method of landing. So if it sits, it fits, as the old saying goes. But it's not something that is dedicated or officially drawn up for on that ship. So if you park a big old ship on the Liberator, it's not necessarily designed to do that. And I'm sure it will tax the engines, fuel, everything, because you're carrying that much more mass. Great picture there. What's the Liberator's armor like in comparison to the other military ships of its size? So this is a very important question that a lot of people had in mind. So the Liberator packs medium to heavy armor to offset its relatively sparse weaponry and allow it to take a beating whilst transporting vehicles. So that's great news if you were a little worried that this thing was going to be kind of a weak ship. Doesn't have a lot of guns, and you know, half of it's exposed. It's going to have good armor, really good armor. Does the 400 SCU cargo capacity refer only to the internal cargo bays next to the garages? Is there any limitation that prevents additional cargo from being ferried into the garages or onto the landing pads? And I'm assuming only the 400 SCU dedicated area gets mag plates. Well, mag plates was an old thing. Pretty much they're going to have artificial gravity for everything. But the 400 SCU refers only to the internal cargo bays, which are the secured areas for cargo. As above, what happens outside of that is up to the player, though it may not be supported via the full range of systems in the game, such as it's not being mag secured. So we know that there'll be artificial gravity up there, but that's the only thing that's securing the cargo. It can be knocked off or, you know, thrown out into space in some way. So keep that in mind if you plan on using this as a cargo transport rather than what it's designed for, and that's moving ships and vehicles. What is the primary usage difference between this and the M2? So a lot of people have been wondering about this, and I upgraded my M2 into a Liberator, and there's a big reason why, which they'll kind of say. The big differentiator between the M2 is that it's not designed specifically to carry spaceships, let alone multiple spaceships, which the Liberator, that's its key role. That's what it's made for. So I've got the C2, I've got the A2, I can carry cargo, and really I've got the whole series of ships in my personal hangar. So I didn't really have a major use of the M2. Yeah, it's got the jump seats for the Marines or whatever that you want to carry on board, but so does this ship, the Liberator. So does my Valkyrie. So I have ships that can do that. My Prowler, they all can do that. So I decided to upgrade my M2 into the Liberator because it was about the closest ship to it in price, you know, and it was a good deal. I thought it was a great buy, so to speak. So that's what I did, and I know a bunch of you guys did that as well. Will there be any consideration to removing the spawning ship requirements when loading your own fleet? For example, when we spawn the third vehicle, the first vehicle we spawned will despawn. So this has been in the game for, what, 3 patches now, give or take, 3 or 4 patches, where you can only have 3 vehicles, ships, whatever, in existence at once. So if you spawned, you know, let's say you spawn your C2 and you wanted to put 3 vehicles on it, well, once you spawned that third vehicle, your C2 would disappear because you're only allowed to have 3 ships or vehicles spawned at one time. So ultimately, they're going to do away with that limit. Right now, that limit is only there as a temporary measure, and it's generally there to help server stability. So when servers are a little bit better and server meshing comes into play, that will be removed and you'll be able to spawn as many ships as you want. So awesome answer, awesome question. Let's move on to the next one. Are there any ways to lock down ships on the upper landing pad to prevent them from taking off? Let's say someone wants to escape. On the same topic, is there a way to forcibly detach a ship if it's in an unwanted, if it has an unwanted visitor? So we don't have any specific details to discuss regarding the topic of security and potential griefing and how it interacts with the ship and other similar ones. But both the scenarios listed here are areas we are discussing internally, particularly how we wish to deal with them using the current and planned range of mechanics. So they don't have an answer for this. Somebody stows away and just parks their ship on yours. What can you do about it? I mean, these turrets aren't going to be able to hit it. So what options do we have? I know there's a tractor beam question later on. Maybe you can tractor beam them off the ship. Yeah, I don't know. This is a great question, and hopefully they'll be able to come up with some really good answers for us. Hopefully we can have personal defense turrets in hallways and stuff. I know they mentioned that at one point, that will be able to take on intruders for you. We just don't know. The Liberator is described as having extreme range, but how does that how does its endurance compare to other carriers like the Kraken and Idris? The Liberator has extreme range by virtue of the capacity of its hydrogen quantum tanks compared to other ships of its size and class. However, the Kraken and the Idris are over double the size and as such have an even greater range. So that answers your question. Those bigger ships can go way further. So here's my question. I mean, the Carrack is designed to do long range, exploration. Theoretically, it should be able to go much further than even an Idris, unless an Idris is just completely self-sustainable, which I kind of hope it is. But, how long is an Idris going to be able to stay out before it needs to find fuel or be refueled or whatever? Those are great questions. Again, that we don't have the answers for yet. The mechanic's not really in the game yet. But I would be very interested in finding out. Maybe you guys want to debate it down in the comments down below. That would be great. Can vehicles be driven up the ramp bay door and secured on the upper deck in place of fighters? So this will be possible, though it's not advised, as the ramp or door becomes damaged. It will no longer operate, putting it out of commission. So you must then only load and unload from the rear ramp until it's repaired. So I think we got an answer here, but I don't necessarily think the answer 100% goes along with the question. The answer is yes. You can put vehicles on the top deck. Period. I don't know why they went into further detail about the doors getting damaged. I mean, I guess maybe driving a vehicle up the door could damage it. I don't know what they're going towards on that answer. I really don't. But yeah, you can put vehicles on the top. And it's kind of cool when you put a tank or a ballista on top of a ship and it just starts taking out fighters and other ships with ease. That's fun. What are the two cylinders on the lateral side of each engine? So they're talking about these right here, and they have no function. They're just really cool. They're just there because it looks cool. I mean, they could have hand waved them and said, oh, that's the extra fuel tanks. But no, these are just two cylinders, serve no purpose. They just add mass to the ship. Or maybe it's a flotation device. We don't know. Maybe it'll actually float. Maybe this adds buoyancy and this thing can land on water. They haven't really said that. Maybe that should have been a question that somebody asked in the Q&A. I don't know. Will the ship be able to traverse jump points with ships on the deck? Yes. If a ship is landed on the deck, it will be carried with the Liberator during the jump. Awesome. Is the Liberator a capital ship as it is categorized in the ship matrix? Or is this incorrectly labeled as it does not have any actual capital class components? This was one of my big questions because I was like, how can this thing be ruled a capital ship? It doesn't have any capital components. And that used to be what they used to, describe if it was capital or not. So their answer is interesting, and it does answer it. The Liberator has no capital components. While this is not the sole requirement of a capital ship, size and role also play a part. The Liberator being listed as a capital is an error on the matrix, and it should say large instead. So this is not a capital ship. All you people that want to use this thing as their capital ship for their org, it's not. It's a large ship, and it's still a great ship that you could use to start operations on and stuff. But sadly, for you folks, it's not a capital ship. You have to get a little bit bigger to get in the capital size. Like the Polaris or the 890 Jump. Those are capital. Where is the tractor beam mounted, and can it be used to pull in a mobile ship onto the deck and then transport it off? That's a fantastic question. A lot of salvage folks will want to be able to do that, or a lot of people that are just trying to recover their fighters and get the heck out of Dodge. Can you do that? The tractor beam is mounted in a deployable compartment in the passenger side under the remote upper turret. This allows it to have range over the external pads to aid with the landing and removal of ships. So it's dedicated to doing just that. It can pull in ships and move them off. So that may be an answer also to their question above about ships that land on there without permission. You might be able to use the tractor beam to yank them off of the deck and push them out into space. Or better yet, push them in the range of one of your guns so they can blast them to bits while the tractor beam still has them. There's a solution. Does the Liberator offer any facilities to house the crew of the transported ships and vehicles? This was a fantastic question again. Something that they definitely overlooked, I think, in the design of the ship, or at least that's what a lot of people thought. Here's the answer they gave. The crews of those transported vehicles have access to their own dedicated area of the ship, complete with food services, lockers, storage, a bathroom, and a seating area. They just don't have a barracks of some kind to sleep in. That's reserved for the crew. And I think that's probably the biggest issue people have with this ship, is that there's no place for those other people to sleep in. But you can use the beds in a fashion where, you know, you got crew on board and then two people can sleep in a rotation of some kind. But that goes into a whole nother thing, and we're not going to go into that. But there is the Liberator Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I thought there were some fantastic questions, some good answers. What do you guys think of it? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that little bell icon to let you know when I do another video. I really do appreciate everybody tuning in to the videos here lately. You guys are awesome. And if you want to contribute more to the Texas Space Navy, you can do that by going to my Patreon or my YouTube members and becoming a member to either one of those. It's much appreciated, and I can't tell you how much you guys have helped me out through the last couple of years. So thank you very much. You can also contribute by watching the ads all the way through and clicking on the ads. That helps as well. If you buy something from the ad, that does too, but I would never ask you to do that. But thank you once again. I hope you guys have a really good rest of your week. I'm going to try to get another video out on the roadmap roundup for tomorrow, and we'll see what happens on Friday. I'm Mud Dog with the Texas Space Navy, and I'll see you out in the verse.